Hello, everyone. It's Heather to the Max here, and welcome to day 3 of the Max Life Accelerator program. This first week is all about finding yourself. So, today we are going to talk about challenging yourself. So, challenging yourself can sound like a counterintuitive kind of process if you are feeling already overwhelmed and like there's so much going on in your life. But the thing is, it really doesn't have to be something so difficult for you to do. It doesn't need to be, stressful to challenge yourself. All it means is we're stretching yourself a little bit past your comfort zone to search for growth and to search and to learn things about ourselves. So I really want you to think about challenging yourself more as an exploration tool to help you find what you're passionate about. So when we challenge ourselves and we find out what is really worth the effort based on, the rewards or whatever we receive from the challenge. So it's important to keep that in mind, do this consciously, because then you are using the challenge as something to teach you about yourself and about the things you enjoy or the things you don't enjoy. If it doesn't work out for you, then now you know what is not going to work for you and what might work for you, vice versa. So that is something to think about, because we got to remember here, the bottom line is growth. Growth does not happen inside your comfort zone. So all we're really trying to do, I said it before, is push us past our comfort zone so that we can learn more about ourselves, but also so that we are in a place where we can grow and improve upon ourselves and our lives. So let me see here. Yes. Before we get into all of the questions surrounding, or the brainstorming surrounding challenging yourself, I do want to say that even when you're changing your life for the better, it's a challenge. Any change is a challenge. And so you're in this program because you are looking for something more and something better out of your life, but it's gonna be a challenge and it's gonna be, hard. So that's something to keep in mind as we're going through the entire Max Life Accelerator program, but especially here in the beginning when we're, really just discovering what our values are here. Think about the things that challenge you, but more importantly, what what impact the results have on your life. Is it positive? Is it negative? What does that mean about, your specific opinions, feelings, your who you are and what that means for you. So those are the things I want you to keep in mind today as we talk about challenging yourself, because challenging yourself is really important. You will not get anywhere in life if you don't challenge yourself at least a little bit at a time. And the more you challenge yourself, the greater rewards you can reap from that. So it's really important to, again, take this concept consciously to the front of your mind. Don't let it sit in the back of your mind, or don't, write down a goal and then forget about it and not come back to it. Consciously think about the challenges that you are working on and how you're doing with that and what that means for you. So one of the first things I want to ask today is, how often do you challenge yourself? because sometimes we might not even realize that we're challenging ourselves. So we got to be aware of that first of all. But it's important to challenge ourselves somewhat often and fairly consistently. And the reason is because the humans are a routine creature, we're a habit creature, and I always go back to the subject of inertia, which is a science subject, which essentially means that something in motion tends to stay in motion. Um, and it's absolutely the case with humans and their habits, and that includes challenging yourself and working on yourself and working on your personal growth and your personal development. The more often that you do this, the more consistently that you do this, the farther you will go. And more importantly, the more comfortable you will feel as you're challenging yourself and working on this, the more comfortable you will feel outside your comfort zone. So that is something to keep in mind. We are working here to try and make ourselves, or to get used to that feeling of being uncomfortable and that feeling of challenging ourselves and working hard, so that as we grow and as time passes, that stuff becomes more easier. That stuff becomes more natural. And it doesn't happen overnight. It might start to happen for you by the end of this program. But honestly, it's just something you need to think of ongoing is, how am I challenging myself right now? So, hey Lily. um, how often are you challenging yourself? Because you want to do that consistently. The more often you challenge yourself, the easier it will become each time, and the easier bigger challenges will become rather than smaller challenges. So that's sort of the next thing to think about, besides how often, or I guess they kind of go hand in hand. You need to know what ways you are currently challenging yourself. Really, you're so silly. So that's the other thing that I want you thinking about here. I want you to sit down and take some stock on specifically what ways are you, challenging yourself right now. Usually there's at least one or two small things, and if you are otherwise not really challenging yourself, you may not really feel very fulfilled. So that, they go hand in hand. What ways are you challenging yourself and how often? You know, um, it can be a small thing, just trying something new. Um, Maybe saying hello to a stranger at the bus stop. If that's something you've never done, or something that uh, you like to avoid because it makes you uncomfortable, do it. Challenge yourself so that you can get used to that feeling of being uncomfortable. That is the key. That is why I wanted to go over this whole challenging yourself piece here, is because, you know, it's not so much that we need to constantly be stressing ourselves out and fighting for a goal that, is too difficult for us, but it's all just about getting yourself outside of your comfort zone so that you can grow and feel more comfortable with that as you grow. Um, so how often, what ways are you challenging yourself? And then, the second part here is, how are you going to challenge yourself going forward? What new things can you try? I gave the random bus stop example, but I'm sure there are a ton of different things that, again, if you sit down and consciously brainstorm it out, what are little ways you can challenge yourself? What are big ways you can challenge yourself? And make a plan. I mean, You don't necessarily have to say, I will complete this challenge on this day, but you do have to consciously be putting yourself through these tests and consciously making yourself uncomfortable, because that's really the only way that it'll actually work. Um, when you accidentally fall into a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable or uneasy, that is not always necessarily something that you will be able to find growth in. It comes down to a little bit of awareness, which is why the last couple of days we have been, digging deep into our thoughts and emotions. But it also just comes down to, practice. So the second part of the work today is about thinking about that practice of pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. What's the smallest way you can do that is maybe just saying hi to someone at a bus stop. Maybe the biggest way you can challenge yourself is starting your own online business or something like that. Just an example. Write everything down and, take stock of what is feasible for you to challenge yourself with right now. Think about things you've always wanted to try. It kind of goes back into what we were talking about in trying new things yesterday and in exploring new things. Um, Again, the challenging yourself is just another way to think about exploration. So the things that you wrote yesterday that you are maybe interested in trying, think about actually challenging yourself by going out and doing that and making that happen. Um, so that's important to think about. And then I think another idea, just to kind of help your brainstorm juices, is we will visualize our futures more in depth next week. But I want you to just sort of start generally visualizing the new heights that you feel you are coming to. And that'll help you think of ways to challenge yourself. If you have this idea in mind that you're going to make a lot of money someday, then maybe one of your challenges is finding an additional income stream or something like that. I don't want to give too many examples because I think it's pretty straightforward without, thinking about all the details of your life. Just think about the ways that you're already trying to level up, or the ways that you want to level up in the future that you have maybe thought about but not started working on yet. How can you start working on that? So that is just another way to start thinking about different ways that you can challenge yourself, so that you can, learn more about yourself. This week is about finding yourself, and some of you may feel more in tune with your thoughts, emotions, desires than others, and that's great. But I always feel like there is more to learn about yourself because we are growing and changing all the time. So even if you had a really good idea of who you were, maybe a year or two ago, you could be a completely different person now. You're in a completely different place in your life. So these concepts are something to be, I don't want to say considered, something to be contemplated often. All of these things, the exploration, the questioning we talked about on the day one, and challenging yourself, all of these things are really good to do all the time. And that's all I pretty much have to say about that. Make sure you comment below with maybe what your current challenges are and some other ways that you thought of to continue challenging yourself going forward. I'd love to hear about it. Um, it's it's exciting. Again, don't stress out about this. Get excited because challenging yourself is always a good thing, even if it's hard, even if it's, not easy in the time being, then at the very least you have learned something when you've come out of it. So let me know. And oh, tomorrow is a homework day. That means there will not be a video. However, there still will be a post with a prompt, and I want you to go in there and comment on that and tell me what you did for your homework piece for your homework day, which is this week going to be just trying something new, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And so I want to hear about that. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for that post. And then also, since there won't be a video, you'll be able to have a little extra time to catch up on these last couple of days if that's what you need to do. So that is everything. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again on Friday. Thanks.